Welcome to Verbier, Four Valleys. How can you tell I'm in Verbier? This, quality lift infrastructure. You don't get any bobble chairs in Chamonix, that's for sure. I've not been here since my very first snow report of the season, and while this isn't quite the last report, it's a nice way to bookend the season. Start and finish in Switzerland, where all the money is. I've actually come up from the Nendaz sector. That's the first time I've ever actually been to Nendaz. Because usually when you come into Verbier Four Valleys, if you're traversing across the Four Valleys, you'll never come into Nendaz or Zuma, because they're both kind of set in front of the main traverse across the resort. So yeah, this is a little bit new for me as well, although we are just about approaching back into the normal part of the Verbier sector. The whole Four Valleys resort is due to be open until the 21st of April. There's still over a week left here, and for now at least, all the connections are still skiable, still passable, everything is still open. It's still possible to traverse all of the Four Valleys from Verbier to whatever the furthest valley is, except Broussons, which is the west side of Verbier. That's now closed, but that doesn't really link up with everything else anyway. And it is also still possible to ski all the way down to the base of the resort in Nendaz and Zuma, by the look of it. I'm sure it's possible to ski down to the base resort in Verbier as well. So yeah, as much as the base stations are north facing, even though it's been really warm and dry, you can still ski all the way down, you haven't got to download. And then once you are up, most of the piste is still absolutely immaculate. Like I say, this is Verbier, this is where the money is. They groom the piste to perfection every morning. Sure, the snow is really firm at this time of day, till basically late morning, it's pretty damn firm, but it's not icy, at least not here anyway. It's enjoyable-ish, hard, fast pistes, especially if you're on skis. Not quite so much as if you're on a snowboard, but if you like carving, you're still going to be able to enjoy this. So you joined me on a little bit of a Swiss Valais road trip. Yesterday I was over in Crans, Montana, obviously here today I'm in Verbier. The snow is so much worse over in Crans. It's a south facing resort, so despite being pretty high, the base elevation's over 1500 metres, top elevation's nearly 3000. But yeah, it faces south, so it's got the full force of the spring sun. And it's barely snowed there in 2 months as well, so it's really lean, really dry. And something that's pretty unique in ski areas is they actually shut the top lifts around about lunchtime when it's warm, because most of the runs are under threat of wet slab avalanches. They just followed big terrain traps and there's just massive glide cracks everywhere. So yeah, unfortunately we didn't get to ski from top to what is currently the bottom because the upper runs are all closed. Here in Verbier that's not a problem. Most of the runs are north facing or east or west facing. So yeah, the snow here is so much better. Although that said, actually on a snowboard it was more enjoyable than Crans yesterday, and it is up high at the moment. It's still bullet hard. Just did a lap of Montfort. The top is mogul field, it always is. It is a black mogul run, but it's not chalky moguls at all. They're firm icy moguls and it's horrendous on a snowboard. Slightly lower down, it's a lovely well-groomed piece, but it's quite sugary snow on a very, very hard base. So again, not ideal on a snowboard. Good if you're on skis, especially if you've got stiff carving skis. But yeah, still very, very firm even at midday today so far. So the top of the Montfort lift is over 3,330 metres. It's the highest point in the Four Valleys resort, and it's higher than anything we've got in Chamonix as well. The highest lift in Chamonix is currently Bochard, about 2,700. So up there, there's tons of snow still, but it's very, very firm, very, very icy. When there's good powder, there's so much freeride terrain available up there, but right now, you stick to the piste. And then of course behind me, up there, is the Bec de Ross, home of the Freeride World Tour. The finals are here 2 or 3 weeks ago, but it's very, very lean this year. I didn't actually watch any of it, but I can't imagine they were actually skiing from the very top, because it looks very, very bony, very low tide conditions, and it's pretty dangerous obviously when there's not that much snow. Earlier this week, we went on a ski tour up to the Col de Grand Saint Bernard to visit the famous hospice and refuge up there. I must say, it's probably the most boring ski tour I've ever done. It's so mellow, but for once it's not about the journey, it's about the destination. Getting to the hospice, this iconic pass. It's the pass that Romans went over 2,000 years ago. It's, yeah, steeped in history, but the skiing itself is super boring. It's a great tour for a beginner because it is so mellow, and indeed, if you've only got a very short day just to get out in the mountains, enjoy the ambience, but yeah, don't expect to be doing any charging down there. It's just cruising down the road. But with this stable high pressure we've had, stable snow, stable weather for weeks now, it's been all go in the high mountains. There's been so much getting done, so much going on, but even in these conditions, it's not without risk. This week, it's been incredibly busy for the rescue services in Chamonix, and indeed, I imagine, everywhere else in the Alps as well. But we've had, unfortunately, 2 fatal crevasse falls, multiple successful crevasse rescues, and some serious speed flying accidents and many other accidents as well. On Saturday, there were 2 fatal accidents within a very short time of each other. One was on the classic tour of the Dom de Miage Traverse, and the other was on the classic route of the Vallée Blanche. So these are both very well travelled routes, very well travelled itineraries, and they were on the easy way up and down, and yet still people fell through crevasses on weak snow bridges, and unfortunately by the time the rescue services got to them it was too late. And since then there's been multiple other crevasse rescues requiring people being winched out the crevasses. As far as I know, they've all been successful rescues, but even so, there's been a lot of people going down holes this week. Because yes, on the whole, the coverage is still great in the high mountains, but it's been so warm now that many of the snow bridges are getting very thin, very weak. And I believe the crucial snow bridge as you're crossing below the Salamandre on the Vallée Blanche is less than a metre wide now. So everyone gets thrown into this incredibly narrow spot. Of course, everyone's waiting that same spot, that same point, so sooner or later it is going to go. There are other ways through. You can find another way through if that does break, but that is the easiest way and usually the safest way. And sooner or later, probably much sooner, it's going to go. And there's also a serious accident on the same day, or maybe one day before or after, speed flying off of Pointe-Yalde near the Glacier Noir. So that's on the Italian side of the Vallée Blanche, coming back across in towards France. The lifts at Brevant, Fougères and La Tour are scheduled to close this weekend, the 13th of April. The lifts in La Zouche are already closed. They closed last weekend, 6th of April. All of Evasion Mont Blanc is now also closed except La Contamines, but again, they're closing this weekend on the 13th of April. And Courmayeur has also already shut. That shut last weekend. So there's really not a huge amount of piste skiing to be done right now, other than at Grand Montet and across here in Verbier. As I said earlier, Verbier is open until 21st of April, so Easter Monday, as is Crans-Montana actually, although they may well struggle to keep Crans-Montana open that long. There's still tons of skiing to be had here in Verbier, but some of the link-ups between and through the 4 valleys may struggle between now and then. So if you do still want to come out and piste ski, your options are becoming more and more limited, unfortunately, but that is the nature of the beast. We're well into spring now, and it's been a very warm, very dry spring. And with the late Easter, some places have just not even tried to stay open till Easter because you can't guarantee snow this time of year. So some places, such as Courmayeur for example, they've arbitrarily shut. There's still tons of snow over in Courmayeur, but they've always planned to shut last weekend, which is a real shame, but that is what it is. You can't guarantee the snow and you can't guarantee the custom in this late into the season. So what weather have we got in store? Well, after days, if not weeks, of glorious sunny weather, for the first time in a while it has clouded over again now, and you can probably see behind me there are a few hefty shower clouds. It's going to be very hit and miss, but there might be a little bit of precipitation in Chamonix and indeed here in Verbier today. Today's Wednesday, but it's really not supposed to amount to much in terms of snowfall. Freezing level is above 3,000 metres at the moment, so any snow that is falling at resort level in Chamonix is going to be very soggy. There's a bit more weather coming through this weekend, a bit more meaningful precipitation Saturday night into Sunday, and again Sunday night as well, but freezing levels are still staying super high. At least to begin with on Saturday, freezing levels are forecast to be up at around about 3,300 metres, so it's going to be heavy rain at all levels in the Chamonix ski area. You get a little bit of snow up at the top lifts here in Verbier, but not much. Freezing level is due to drop through into Sunday. The snow line will come down, so there will be a dusting of snow, maybe down to mid-mountain in Chamonix and here in Verbier. But again, I'm really not expecting any meaningful snowfall totals. It's not going to transform things. It's just going to be a bit of dust on crust and have to wait for the sun to come out and soften everything up again before it's enjoyable. Up on the Vallée Blanche, and again, some of the higher ski touring and ski mountaineering itineraries, there could be some enjoyable powder to be had. It won't last long, but if you get out early next week and get up high, you might have some good powder turns. But again, at this time of year, it transforms very, very quickly. I need to start heading back down towards Nendaz now, make sure I don't get stranded at the wrong part of the Four Valleys. Otherwise it's going to be a long, long walk back or a very, very expensive taxi ride to get to my car. But yeah, as always, if you are coming out here anytime soon, I'll leave the link to mountain drop-offs in the description, and you can use the QR code here if you need to book airport transfers. And other than that, of course, stay safe, especially on those glaciers. Have fun and tune in next week.